1453. The fall of Constantinople. Probably some of you remembers. There is an unopened gate, and it's coming here. And so, did you know that in the year 1453, the mighty city of Constantinople faced the final siege by the Ottoman Empire, the Turks. The city defenders, this is just a painting. They relied on its massive walls. They relied on, hopefully, the vigilant watchmen to keep them safe. But history is telling us that on the night of May 28, a small postern gate, I think it was on the eastern side, correct me if I'm wrong, it was just a small gate, and that gate was called Porta, was for some reason left unlocked. The watchman, the guard that was supposed to guard this gate, for some reason wasn't there, was maybe sleeping or not paying attention. And so he failed to notice or sound the alarm. The Ottoman Empire was very strong, and the soldier discovered the open gate. They slipped inside and quickly raised their banner on the city walls. And so by the time the alarm was finally raised, it was too late. The enemy had already breached the defenses. They were already coming in. The city, which stood for over 1,000 years. That it is being said, challenged by some, history, that was the end of the Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire. And they failed, history is telling us, because one single gate was left unwatched and the warning was not sounded in time. So welcome here to Light Channel TV, and probably have seen for a couple of months now we changed it over, not just to English, but this is Wisdom Academy, and this is where we'd like to expose not just, as many people are claiming, the truth, but the emptiness of worldly wisdom, and reach for a treasure as lasting as eternity. We live, some people realize that we live in an increasingly era defined by cancel culture. And there is an ongoing war from many sides on free speech. And here I'm not talking about the liberty to just do whatever we want. We talk about religious liberty and free speech. And at least to me, I don't know about you, but it looks like a chilling silence has fallen. And sometimes, many times, I find myself wondering, why is it so? Why is that what it was supposed to be imminent danger? Some people would call it present truth. That was supposed to be the heartbeat. If you're a Christian, as a Christian witness, it's now so rare. Sometimes, and I'm asking this question, why do I feel so lonely? At least in this part of town, when I speak up even among those who claim to share my faith. And I do also wonder sometimes, why do even people that used to call themselves friends, once close, now turn their backs or even avoid uncomfortable conversation? And so, the idea of this study came. Why are the dogs not barking? Why are the watchmen sleeping while the world outside grows darker and more confused? Is that your experience as well? And so I look around and see so many distracted. I see so many people, they're just being caught up in noise. Maybe the endless scroll, the next exciting controversy. The Christian church once, which was supposed to be a lion roaring with conviction, to me it seems to be caged, tamed by fear of being cancelled, rejected, labeled, maybe not being politically correct. And so, if you're a Bible-believing Christian, you must have realized that the Bible has already warned us that there is going to be such a time. And so it is not my word. And I'm not trying to be offensive to anyone here. I'm talking just as a messenger. And so the term of dumb dog comes from the Bible. If you know the Bible verse, you're welcome here in the studio to come up with. I did the study, I did the lesson, so I know where it comes from, but I'd like you to think a little bit. And so why is the Bible, why do we even have these dumb dogs who would not bark? The watchmen who failed to sound the alarm. We read about, we see the image here about the Constantinople, today Istanbul. And so we talk about this deadly silence when present truth is needed most. And we talk about, and maybe we avoid even thinking, not just avoid talking and having conversation, because there is so much to talk about, the weather, the neighbor, what he's done, how are you going to go on vacation, and what are we going to eat. But speaking up when God calls for a voice in the deafening silence. And so why is it so hard? I mean, it cannot just be the threat of being cancelled, can it? And I believe there is something deeper. That's my conviction. And I did this study some time ago. I think I did something similar in Danish. Now I did it kind of a updated version in English. Hopefully somebody can relate to this topic, because I believe this is a deep psychological warfare. And this warfare is playing on the natural need for acceptance. It's playing on fear of isolation. And I'm not an expert in psychology, but I like to study to better understand what's going on. I'm trying to analyze my actions, my thoughts, and everybody else around me as much as I can and understand. And so help me God. So this is the prayer that I have, that we come to this study as well. We come with a humble heart, because truth, it's not revealed by human reasoning. And if you paid attention to our intro, it's revealed. Truth is revealed no matter how much I think or we think we know, no matter how many university degrees we might think that might be helpful to expand our view on certain sciences, but truth, it's only revealed. And to be able to actually receive, not just listen, but receive the truth, we need to be humble. So it is my prayer, no matter your background. And I believe it's my strong conviction, and I've been saying this many times before, and I'm again challenging anyone to please debunk me. You know, that's where I'm at. I'm not fanatically, but this is where I understand reality right now. We have these so-called elites around the world. We have influencers. Thousands of people are being paid all over the place, social media, for not talking about the corporate mainstream medias, which are being paid by regimes around the world to manufacture content, to manufacture reality, to brainwash and indoctrinate the masses. And that's where I believe that this psychological warfare is exploiting the natural man's weaknesses, is gaslighting even Christians into silence, making us not just doubt our convictions, but also scaring us into conformity. And sometimes I wonder, have I forgotten even that truth is not just a set of facts. It's not an intellectual acceptance of some doctrines. It's a person. And if you're a Bible-believing Christian, who is the truth?
Jesus.
Anyone here? And he was never afraid to speak. Was he? Could you imagine? And he went so far that because he said what he said, what happened to him? If we talk about being cancelled, no one ever was so much cancelled as Jesus Christ. So why are we afraid? And what are the consequences? And you see, as always, I'm asking a lot of questions, and I'm asking rhetorical questions, and I'm asking provoking and challenging, shocker questions. I like to ask these kind of questions. And as always, we do spiritual electrotherapy here at Light Channel. We're not here to actually sing another lullaby and just be blessed and go home, because I realized that if we keep quiet, if the lions never roar again, and so I believe it's time to wake up the watchmen. It's time to wake up the dogs, to open the cage and let the righteous roar once more. And because if we don't, if you and I, if you are a Bible-believing Christian, if you happen to be maybe a Seventh-day Adventist, you have a lot of light. And so I was thinking of analogy. You know, there are many stories, but I was thinking, comparison. What if I was a shepherd dog? I love dogs. I love shepherd dogs, especially. When I was a kid, I wanted to have not a shepherd. I want to have another type of dog. But anyway, I find the shepherd dog to be very, very interesting. And so I made this clip here. I think you can hear me in the background here. If you could spool the clip to the video, next video. I made this analogy about a shepherd dog. And there are two types of dogs here. There is a faithful dog, and there is the dumb dog. And so the dumb dog, it's coming here. The dumb dog, imagine a wide rolling green pasture at sunrise. And there is dew on the grass, sparkling. In the midst of the flock, there is this coming, it's coming up here, this dog. He's very strong. He's looking around, he's alerting the flock. He's standing, he's watching. His ears are perked. His eyes is scanning the horizon, as you saw, and his nose twitches around at every unfamiliar movement, scent. That faithful dog, he also knows his master. He knows his master's voice. He doesn't have to turn around to see, is that my master talking to me or calling me? He already knows when the master is talking. And I don't know if you've been around a shepherd dog or sheep or a shepherd, but I've been around. I did my time in actually being a shepherd when I was a kid for my grandfather. We didn't have a shepherd dog, unfortunately, but I saw other people, I saw other shepherds. And you know, they make special noises. They whistle. Either they have a whistle or they do it with their tongue. And the dog knows exactly that's my shepherd calling, and this is the action I have to do. So the dog responds instantly to every command. And so when the danger approaches, a wolf shadow, at the edge of the woods, maybe a snake coming through the grass, and so the dog barks loudly, running between the flock and the threat. And I've seen this with my own eyes. And the dog is ready to die for the sheep. And you know what's amazing? The sheep actually has learned to trust the dog. They feel secure. When that dog, that faithful shepherd dog, is around, they don't worry. They gather close. They know that the dog will protect them. And also the shepherd relies on him. And I've seen that myself. I've seen actually dog fighting and the shepherd sleeping, almost sleeping, kind of, because he knew that the dog was strong. He knew that the dog will do everything. And so both the sheep and the shepherd was confident that no harm will come to the flock. The sheep are safe. The shepherd dog is a hero. And now imagine the lazy, unfaithful, careless dog. And so if one day the shepherd dog grows lazy, he finds a sunny spot, dozes off, ignoring the distant rustle in the bushes, and the wolf comes in. His ear drops, his eyes close. Why do I care? It's so cozy here. I'm so comfortable. And he continued dreaming, chasing butterflies, whatever, instead of watching for the danger. And so the wolf creeps closer and closer, and the dog doesn't bark. The sheep, trusting that the dog will warn them, sense no warning and continue to graze, unaware of the threat. And so the wolf is coming in, scattering the flock, snatching a lamb. And so the shepherd comes back to find cows, and the sheep is missing. Some of them are wounded, the flock is terrified. What happened to that dog? The once trusted dog is no longer a protector, but a liability. And so that shepherd, I do believe and I trust it's very grieved. And the sheep are harmed. Because the dog's neglect has brought disaster. As you could imagine, for the dog, his master's disappointment is deep. He's no longer trusted, no longer valued as a guardian, and the consequences are even more severe. It's not just the loss of a sheep, of a lamb, but it's actually the fear that has come into the flock, the confusion. The entire pasture actually is going to suffer because the one dog appointed to watch and warn failed his duty. And now I'm going to ask some very provoking questions. And by the way, do you know what shepherds are doing with this kind of dogs? Have you seen it? They shoot the dog. It's a useless dog. And so, which one of these shepherd dogs would you set to guard your flock? Your soul. What about your eternity? And what about your children's eternity? What kind of dog, what kind of shepherd dog are you trusting to guard your children? Which one of these dogs? I think the answer is quite obvious, and you'll probably think straight away, yes, of course, I'm going to choose the faithful one. But do we always? And now let's step beyond the pasture. Let's go back. Let's come back from analogy fantasy world. And let's have a look at this world. Because if I look around, if I'm listening to people, and I'm not even talking here about all the bad news which are pouring down, bombarding us every single day, thousands and millions of people dying and all the hunger and so on. This world is spiraling towards self-destruction. The shadows that once were just there in the woods and I felt safety, now are bringing in the darkness. The killer wolves are multiplying, and they're making a lot of legislations nowadays. If you're a Bible-believing Christian, you know your prophecy by heart. And you are able to see that the dark storm clouds of prophecy gather on the horizon. And we've been warned, and the warnings are still there. And for some people, there is still time. And so, what kind of dog would you rather be? The greatest one of the world is the one of men who will not be bought or sold, who in their inmost souls are true and honest, who do not fear to call sin by its right name, whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole, men who will stand for the right though the heavens fall. Is that you? Is that me? What do we see today? Are the watchmen on the walls of Zion awake? Or are they dozing in the sun, distracted by comfort, popularity? It's all over social media. Fear of being cancelled. Friends, I've been cancelled all over the place. And it's a liberation. I can tell you from my own experience. It's freedom. And I'm not the only one experiencing this kind of freedom. I got something in a few minutes when I'm getting there. Are the shepherd dogs barking? Do you hear the shepherd dogs barking at the approach of danger, or have they grown silent, afraid to offend, afraid to lose friends, afraid to stand alone? What about you? What if you were a shepherd dog? What if you were a shepherd? Will you settle for a dog that looks nice, it's cute, you can cuddle? Or would you rather have a shepherd dog that acts? One that warns, protects, and stands between the flock and the wolf, no matter the cost. And so, what if you were the sheep? And in a spiritual sense, yes, we are the sheep. How would you feel safe with a dog that sleeps through the night? Or would you long for one whose bark pierces the darkness and keeps the enemy at bay? And so it is my conviction, I don't know about you, but the stakes are higher than ever. The world stage is set for the final act, and humanity is being actively distracted, entertained. To me, when I read my Bible, and I have it here in front of me, the present truth is not just a doctrine. To me, it's a living, transforming, urgent message for this hour. Silence now is not just neglect, it's betrayal to that truth, which we just agreed it was a person, right? And so to be a dumb dog, to me, does not bark. It's actually to risk the loss of my soul, maybe other souls, perhaps. So what kind of shepherd dog do we often see today? Again, is it just a dog that cuddles, always seeking to comfort but never to warn? Is it a dog that preaches only smooth things? Are you just listening to the dogs that is telling you what you want to hear? But do you also tune into the dogs that are preaching what you need to hear? Is it just a dog that loves to play, to entertain, to keep the flock happy in the local coffee club and distracted, but almost never barks at danger? Or maybe it's a dog that lulls you with stories of the past. Maybe real, true past history, yeah, that's important. Only focusing on history. Or maybe it's pointing you to some distant, abstract future that nobody really can relate to, but it's never warning you about the present truth, right here, right now, what you need to hear. Because the wolves are right here, friends. They're not in a distant future. They're not in past, in history. They're coming right at you right now. So what are you going to do? And so what about the dangers? Because we do face not just physical, but spiritual, mental, psychological, eternal dangers. And so I've been warning, I've been barking here a lot about this digital coming prison. And we have this warning. And yes, it's important to warn people about what and who, where no one can buy or sell. You remember, unless Revelation 13, right? Is your shepherd dog warning you about these things? Or is he silent? Maybe he's telling you, yeah, don't worry, it's 100 years from now, hoping not to disturb your peace. A real shepherd dog, in my world, is different. A true guardian hears what we and maybe the flock cannot hear. And this is real life, friends. If you ever watched a flock of sheep being guarded by a real shepherd dog, they do not worry because they can hear what actually the dog, if you don't know, dogs in general, but especially a shepherd dog, they have a very advanced sense of hearing. And they can hear on a long distance. The faintest rustle of danger in the distance. And this is also real that a shepherd dog can actually see much further than the sheep's. Even shadows, they can actually spot the shadows of the wolves at the edge of the forest. And a shepherd dog, a real shepherd dog, did you know that? Smells what the flock cannot smell. And so the scent of the wolf on the wind can actually smell long before the flock senses anything it's wrong. That's my dog. My shepherd dog, I like to have, should always be vigilant, not sleeping on his duty, always ready to leap between the flock and danger, even if it means laying down his life. Because my dog, that dog, is loyal to the master's voice, alert to every command, and utterly devoted to the safety of those in his care. So let's ask the question again. Who is guarding my soul? Who is warning your family, your church, your community? Are you happy with a dog that only comforts, only plays, only preaches smooth things, only talk about the past or a far off future, but never points to the dangers of today? Or will you demand a voice that speaks truth, even when it's being cancelled, when it's being censored, when it's costing not just popularity, but even maybe more? And I wanted to bring in here, but I just as a reminder to us today, because one of these dogs is sitting in jail in Germany right now. So please do pray for Rainer Filmich. He's up to serve up to, I believe it's spring 2029, because he is and he was a real shepherd dog. Because one who hesitates to bark when danger is near, afraid of what the flock might say, what the other dogs might think, or even afraid of being attacked for speaking up. And so, yeah, this idea, the inspiration to do this study came from Mickey Willis. I don't know if you heard about Mickey Willis. You can look it up online. He did some very interesting documentaries. I do recommend to watch them, especially the two first, Pandemic 1 and 2. As today, they're the most seen documentaries in the history of the world. Together, I believe they've reached over 1 billion views. Nobody has been able to debunk them. But of course, they have been censored, and it is also recommended, and we do have them on our own platform, lightchannel.dk. And so, I believe 1 week ago he said, if you haven't been cancelled yet, what exactly are you waiting for? That was his hashtag, cancelled. Or maybe the better question is, what are you still afraid of? Before I explain where I'm going with this, allow me to offer a metaphor, a story that speaks to the choice we all must eventually face. And the story goes like this. In the depth of a medieval dungeon, 3 prisoners are shackled to a stone wall, awaiting execution. One by one, each man is summoned by the executioner and given 3 choices. You have either by the firing squad, hanging, and there was a 3rd choice called the black door. And the black door, it's a mystery cloaked in terror. Whispers among the prisoners speaks of torture, madness, horrors worse than death. And the executioner approaches the first prisoner. How do you want to die? How do you wish to die? The first one, by hanging, the man replies without hesitation. The executioner leads him away, and then he returns for the second prisoner. How do you wish to die? The man stiffens. Firing squad. Moments later, the thunder of rifles echoes through the dungeon's halls. And so finally, the executioner faces the 3rd prisoner. How do you wish to die? The man's eyes dart to the black door. He hesitates. For a moment, he seems ready to choose the black door. But fear overtakes him. Hang me, he stammers. And so the executioner escorts him to the gallows. As the noose is secured around his neck, the executioner asks any last questions or requests. You can imagine, the prisoner gulps. Yes, before I die, please tell me what's behind the black door. And the executioner pauses. Then he smiles. It's freedom. And with that, he pulls the lever. And what's the moral of the story? The path we are warned not to take is the very one that leads to freedom. And so cancel culture is that black door. Most people tremble for it. But everyone I know who's had the courage to walk through it has emerged more free than they've ever been. Over the past 5 years, I've asked every dissenting doctor, scientist, and whistleblower the same question at the end of the interview. Do you have any regrets for speaking up? Without hesitation, they all answered no. In fact, the majority described what felt like a spiritual phenomenon. For the first time in their lives, they were experiencing the kind of freedom that comes only from being service to truth. And I can relate. The moment I stopped playing it safe was the moment I was consumed by a peace I'd never known. Because it was Jesus Christ that said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." And so, friends, he concludes, Mike Willis, that's not just theology. It's a roadmap to liberation. So I ask you again, what are you still afraid of? Mickey Willis. That's the story. Mickey Willis is telling us of these 3 prisoners. Each and every single one was given a choice: the firing squad, the gallows, the mysterious black door that was shrouded in fear and rumor. But nobody really knew. And so each man, when faced with the unknown, chooses the familiar path of death. Friends, the fear of man, and if you listen to the message this morning, this Bible verse was actually used in the study. That was a pretty shaky one, wasn't it? The fear of man brings a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord shall be safe. And woe to you when all men speaks well of you, for so did the fathers to the false prophets. Is that true? The true prophets, the true watchmen, the true shepherd dogs were never popular. They were often rejected, ridiculed, persecuted even for sounding the alarm. Yet they spoke because they loved the flock and honored the master above all. The faithful shepherd dog is not afraid of being cancelled, is it? Not afraid of the opinions of the flock or the threats of the wolves. He's willing to risk everything, even his own safety, to protect and warn. And we're not even willing to open a conversation. Friends, the world is getting darker and darker because too many dogs are silent. Too many watchmen are asleep. Too many are choosing the safety of the familiar over the freedom. Comfort zone is calling. Truth is offered at the altar of comfort. We've been warned to take the path of courage. And we've decided what kind of dog would like to guard our flock. But what if we are the dogs? What if we are required to speak out? Would we walk through the black door in faith? The one that leads to true freedom? We've seen and we know what's going on, and I'm not here to go through the news and translate them to you. We ask the question, what kind of dog would you like to have? Well, most of us don't wake up one day and decide to be silent, right? The dumb dog syndrome, I like to call it, creeps in quietly, almost unnoticed, until we find ourselves muzzled by habit At a certain age, the older we get, the more psychologically muzzled we get. Because fear has become our comfort. And so we are silent. We choose convenience. But we have been worried many times, woe to you when all men speaks well of you. Many watchmen will lose their voice, not because the wolves are stronger, but because the dogs have grown weak. So how do we know if we're drifting into this dumb dog syndrome? Can we diagnose the silent disease that turns roaring lions into dumb dogs? And I've done a study, because this is not something in my head, not in my mind. And I know it's getting a little bit late now. We had some technical issues before going live on this study here. And I like you to think very careful. And I'm not going to put a lot of information. And I'm sure there is more than these 7. I like number 7 for a reason. The fear of man, desire for approval. Whoever trusts in the Lord shall be safe. Many are moved by a desire for human approval. They're afraid of being singular, and so they join with the multitude in doing evil. So we need to listen, and it's my prayer when we go through these 7 steps. Actually, we go through these 7 diagnostics, warnings, signs that reveal, if we will, if we come with a humble heart, why we might be losing our bark. Why have we turned from roaring lions into dumb dogs? And what natural man psychological traps keep us there? And so if we're listening, we need to ask the question, is that me? Am I living by the Spirit, or am I stuck in the natural carnal state that keeps me silent? When the world needs a warning most. And so these are what I would call the biblical diagnostics of the dumb dog syndrome. Are we afraid of man and our desire for approval? Is it higher and stronger than truth? Is it? What about love and ease and comfort? Love of ease. Woe to them that are at ease in Zion. Many are content with a form of godliness and do not realize the necessity of a living connection with God. Living connection. They are at ease and do not feel the need of earnest effort. And we talked about this before. Spiritual blindness, ignorance. His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark. Is that a dog I'm listening to? Is that a dog watching my soul? Spiritual blindness is upon many who profess to be watchmen on the walls of Zion. They are ignorant of the work that ought to be done. Is that me? And so compromise, when we do not bark, we compromise with sin and worldliness. And we have been warned. We cannot serve God and Mammon at once. That's a universal law. It's not possible. The reason why many are not more decided in their faith is because they are trying to serve both God and the world. So friends, get canceled. Don't be afraid if you get canceled for truth. Well, you could get canceled for other bad things, but I'm talking about getting canceled for truth. Another reason, another diagnostic, another warning sign for me that I'm actually having the dumb dog syndrome. I have a lack of personal experience with God. I just only know God on paper, having a form of godliness, but denying the power. Denying the power, what does it mean? Does not have any power in my life. Does not have any power to change my mind. Does not have any power to change my habits, what I think, what I talk, what I do. That's a form of godliness. Or just give me a 20 minutes sermonette. And so many have no experimental knowledge of God. They have not a living connection with the source of all strength. And I believe these are the reasons, friend, why we might suffer of the dumb dog syndrome. And I'm not trying to be offensive to anyone here. Do we recognize this? This is being analytical. This is analyzing. You know, if we just do only history, if we just do futuristic, if we just do interpretation, we never understand and we never learn the tools to diagnose. And so we will reach to a point where the dumb dog syndrome will bring me to there where I'm unwilling to suffer or be persecuted for truth. And so I do a lot of sermons on the mark of the beast. But what if I suffer of the dumb dog syndrome and I'm unwilling to suffer? You know, it's silence on social media today about the topics that are going on around the world today. We have a mass murdering regime around the world today. We have the greatest genocide in the human history. But the dogs are silent. All who desire to live godly in Christ Jesus will suffer persecution. This is not, let me put it back again here so you can see the text. This is not you might suffer, maybe. It says you will. Am I reading this correctly? The world is no more in harmony with the principles of Christ today than it was in ages past. The line of demarcation between those who serve God and those who serve Him is ever distinct. Persecution will come, and those who are not willing to suffer for Christ's sake will be found wanting. The last one. If the trumpet, neglect of present truth and prophetic warning. If the trumpet gives an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle? And on one side we can say, yeah, but the flock, they don't know the trumpet, the sound of the trumpet, so they have to learn. Yeah, that's correct. But on the other side, if the watchman is giving an uncertain sound to the trumpet, and so there are many who are not ready to meet the Lord. They're not watching, not praying, not giving the trumpet a certain sound. The present truth, which is a test to this generation, is not being proclaimed as it should be. Dumb dog syndrome. Interesting study, isn't it? Open with me Revelation 22, verse 15. Something really, really unpleasant in this Bible verse. And that's one of the last electrotherapy shocks I'm going to give here in this study. We need to wake up, friends, before it's too late. So it was chapter 22, I think it's verse 15. Anyone cares to read here? If we have the microphone. I have a Norwegian Bible here, so I'm going to translate it in English. But outside are the dogs, the trollmen. They saw those that leaves. I forgot that word in English. That's Norwegian. Unfaithfulness, yes, the murderers and so on. If you read Revelation 22, I don't have a Norwegian English right now in my head. Well, too many languages. There is a point here. Something is wrong in the Bible, right? Because this is about who is going to get lost at the end of time. Revelation 22, verse 15. Okay. If anyone has the English Bible, just put the Bible verse here. Yeah. So consider the dogs in this Bible verse. The dogs, sorcerers, whoremongers, murderers, right? Idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. I think that's. And now compare with Revelation 21. I think it's very, very interesting. I made these discoveries. When I did these studies, I kind of, we knew that was the end of time. This is Revelation, it's talking about. But suddenly realized these Bible verses are talking about dogs. Who are these dogs? Revelation 21 and 22, it's talking that they're going to get lost. Did you ever think about this?
They're going to be outside.
They're going to be outside, yeah. What are dogs doing on a list of people who have lost heaven? What are dogs doing there? Are they real dogs? Or is this symbolic language? Yes. The dogs, and listen carefully, my friends. I don't translate it. This is not me saying. The dogs are the watchmen that God has set to watch his flock, and they did not bark when danger approached. These are the dogs. And don't think just at the pastors or the leaders of whatever denomination you're part of. That's their problem if they do not bark. Think of you, think of me. These are the dogs. The Bible it's very clear here. Am I wrong? Change my mind. The dogs that are not barking are already here. The phrase dumb dogs that came from Isaiah. And so, what's wrong? Why? I put it here in a table. So just to emphasize again, I'm asking the question here. Let's read together these questions. Let's put it in a daily, today context. And I was thinking about what kind of questions people might ask or think, what kind of thoughts. Do I check public opinion before checking God's word? Would I rather be canceled by heaven or by Instagram? What do you want to do? Am I a natural man who trembles before hashtags? Or the spiritual man who trembles before God? And that's friends, as a natural man, this is called social conformity bias. That's psychology for the natural man. It's group thinking, fear of rejection. That's natural. Keeps us silent to stay liked. And the enemy, or I must say the enemies, know exactly how you function if you and I are under this state of mind. And so, we will not bark. Number 2, love and ease and comfort. And I'm asking question, does my sofa get more time than my knees? Is my calendar built for eternity or entertainment? What am I spending more time on? Planning my vacations, my trips, my entertainment? Do I choose TV, internet over noise at midnight, watch duty? And there is so much to watch for my soul, my family, friends, neighbors, co-workers. There is so much to pray. As a natural man, psychology is calling this is a comfort zone bias. I want to keep the status quo. We stick with what feels good. Because asking these questions might require me to get up off sofa, might require me to change my habits, change my way of thinking, my way of talking. Who am I going to be friends with? Maybe my job, maybe even I have to move. Stop it. Let's go back. Status quo. Is that you? And so the spiritual blindness, have I repeated headlines? Only numb me to prophetic reality. You know, these people just reading the headlines. They don't really understand what's going on. Do I scroll past sin because I've seen it all? Am I aware of wolves at all, or just chasing trends? And this is called in psychology, as a natural man, blind by choice. We don't want to see what we choose to ignore. Never heard can be true. That's it. Blind by choice. Intentional blindness. We don't want to see what we don't like to see. We don't see it. Do I dress my wolf in sheep's clothing and call it culture or whatever? We see the wolves, we see what's going on, but we try to excuse it. And the list could be long, and I'm not even talking here just about, all the bad people or the elites or all the bad corrupt politicians or what's going on here. There are many wolves attacking the flock. Physical, spiritual, psychological wolves. You name it. The list is long. And here we see there is a cognitive dissonance. We do what is called in psychology moral licensing. We excuse small sins to keep self-image intact. That's really, really amazing. When we do this analysis of a dumb dog syndrome, we do not bark at the small sins. We do not bark when we see someone stealing from the church, because that's it, friends. We do not bark when we see lies and coercions, because unity is more important. Is it more important than truth? Can we have unity without truth? Not in my case. And so let's ask for the fifth reason. Second-hand religion, no personal experience. And I did a study before on this second-hand religion. Is my faith a YouTube playlist? I just scroll through the confirmation bias topics to the ministries or the people I love to listen. Could my prayer life convict a skeptic or even me? Am I spiritually dehydrated while posting Bible memes? And so psychology calls this authority illusion of knowledge bias. Can you imagine? It's so interesting. The Bible, it's there. Mistaking borrowed information instead of lived transformation. Nothing we read, not even the Bible, has no value to me or to us at all if it doesn't have a transformational effect on me, on my mind, on my heart, on whatever I say, whatever I do. The Holy Spirit is not there. That's for me, that's bottom line. I might know the information, I might even accept it as truth, so does Satan and his demons, and they're still going to be lost. And so, neglect of present truth and prophetic warning. Do I live as though tomorrow will mirror today? That's called psychology normalcy, because we seek safety, friends. That's the natural man. You heard about Maslow's pyramid of needs, you know? And the first one, I don't have it here, but you probably know it. Do you remember which one is the first most important need on a natural person? And this is where people are at today. Do you remember? It's comfort, safety. None of the levels on this pyramid, it's about truth. People doesn't care really about truth if they're not with the Spirit. And so, neglect of present truth. That was the last one here. And I believe all of these reasons are rooted in the Bible. If that's your authority as well, it's my authority too. And so which voice drives me today? The Spirit producing roaring or the flesh? That's the 7 silent biases, which is silencing me to death, which might be giving me the dumb dog syndrome. While the wolves are at the 3 lines, friends, may be already within the flock, and so the master is calling. Will I bark or bow to fear? There are 7 qualities I want to go over quickly here. I want to take this with me. I want to know that if I'm a good shepherd dog, what is the Bible calling me to do? When was the last time I risked my reputation or comfort for God's truth, or do I only speak up when it's safe? I need fear, courage, and a God-centered trust. I should and I need to be vigilant, and I have to live in a self-denial state. I need to have spiritual discernment and prophetic insight that comes together. Because a dumb dog is blind to danger, distracted by the world. Comfort, we talked about this. Do I see the sign of the times, or am I so distracted by the world that I wouldn't notice if a wolf stood in my living room? And I need to have loyalty to the master, uncompromising purity. Because little compromises, if I allow them in my life, that will make me hesitate to bark when the master is calling me. And if I reach to that point where I'm going to have a deep personal experience and not a second-hand religion where it gives me no living connection, I would realize that my faith, it's a living daily walk with God. And I'm not just repeating some mantra headline I'm hearing from others. And so I would also be willing to suffer or even endure persecution, because I rather be accepted by Christ than the crowd and stand alone. And so if it means to be cancelled, so be it. And I would also, when I reach to this point, and this is a kind of reversal, doing the diagnosis, this is kind of the healing process. 7th step. If I ever was a roaring lion and I'm a sleeping lion today, I have to get back on track. And so one of the best signs will be I would do bold proclamation of present truth. Because in comparison, a dumb dog is silent about present dangers, only comforts or entertains. Some people call it preaching for the choir. And so I need to ask the question, when was the last time I warned someone about the real dangers ahead? Am I content to let others sleep while the wolves gather? So I hope I'm barking loud enough here, friends. I hope this message will go in many places. So we have examined the dumb dog syndrome. We have seen some of the reasons for silence and spiritual apathy. But this is not just an ideal, it's a call. God wants the real dog, not the dumb dog. The wolf shadow stretches across the pasture, all over. They're no longer a shadow. If you know your Bible and the spirit of prophecy, you know that probation sunset is sliding toward the horizon. We can see it. And when the close of probation, the darkness falls, no new bark will ever matter. And so today it wonders me that many of us are still checking how loud we dare to speak, wondering who might unfollow me on Light Channel, whatever platform. What am I going to lose? Some clicks? Some number of views? This is not me, friends. Is that you? I hope so. I hope not. Meanwhile, the flock inches toward the cliff. Maybe our children, maybe our neighbors, maybe our spouses, co-workers, lulled by sermons that soothe, songs that entertain, and nothing else. So, scripture, it's very blunt. His watchmen are blind. But it's also giving us a promise that the righteous are bold as a lion. So these two Bible verses, there you have the title for the study today. Which verse will be written over my name in the book of life? Would I have a parenthesis of dumb dog? Case closed. Or a roaring lion? And so, friends, for me, the probation, the close of probation is not just a date. It's not a date on a calendar. For me, it's a line where each soul steps across when conviction is traded for convenience, comfort. And the next conversation, the next post on social media, the next compromise could fix the muzzle in place or tear it off forever. Remember the muzzle we were forced to go around for a couple of years ago. So ask yourself, we need to ask the question honestly, privately before God. Am I the good dog? I have the ears turned to the shepherd. I have my eyes scanning for danger. I have my heart ready to leap, even to bleed for the flock. Am I the dumb dog? I'm domesticated by comfort. I'm distracted by likes and applause. I'm paralyzed by the fear of being cancelled. But friends, there is still time to choose. I don't believe there is much time because the gates are rattling. You know, the wolf is nearer than we think. And every silent second, it's a lamb lost. And so, if we allow to continue unchanged, we are entering into a zero trust world. And I was supposed here, but the time has gone here. I had a clip from a documentary talking exactly about this here. We are already in a zero trust world where digital ID is going to take over. Everything is going to be behind plexiglass, doors with 3D camera, and I'm talking about even shopping center, gas station, you name it. It will only be unlocked through your digital identity and facial recognition. And it's also going to be on your digital score, credit card, if you have available carbon credits in your digital currency. And that's going to apply for everything, you name it. Fuel, travel, your meat, your dairy products, which is your food. I don't consume it myself, but anyway, clothes and other consumer goods. Even internet access is going to be denied. So Satan has been very smart here. Instead of building a lot of prisons here, he's actually built a digital prison. It's like an inverted prison. We are supposed to be free, but everything we want to access is going to be behind lock and key. And that's a must-watch documentary. I think it's The Agenda, Their Vision, Your Future, which I recently also showed here just a couple of clips a couple of weeks ago by Oracle Films. If you need the link, just message me and I'll send you the link. I think it's still on YouTube. And so today, before the lever drops, before the door closes, we need to decide whom we're going to serve, whose voice, whose bark. Am I the good dog? Ears turn to the shepherd again, or the dumb dog. And I believe we still have the time, but not too much. And I know will always be sheep who refuse to listen, just sleeping through the barking, no matter how loud or urgent the good dog barks. Some of them, maybe many of them, will mock. Many of them will ignore the dog. Some will even run toward the wolf despite every warning. Have you seen them? But the faithful dog may bark until his voice is hoarse, even if some sheep will choose their own way. And the best example we have Jesus, the Good Shepherd. Warren the broad is the way that leads to destruction. And who many listened? Not many. For those sheep who will not listen, there are consequences. The wolf will come. The danger will not pass because we turn the other way, simply because it's ignored, and the loss will be real and eternal. But for the dog who barked, who stood his ground, who loved enough to warn there is going to be peace. And so the shepherd knows who was faithful, even if the sheep did not respond. So my last call here, as you search your heart, your calling is not to guarantee the sheep will listen. That's something I had to struggle with for a time. But to make sure that we are not silent when the wolf is near. So I hope and I pray that all of us will be found among the faithful dogs. The ones that are going to bark even if no one is listening, at least seems to hear. Again, that's something I had to learn. Because no matter what, the shepherd is watching. No matter what, the wolf is already here. And so we need to let our voice be counted no matter the outcome. We need to ask ourselves, if the wolf will come to me, to our family, would we bark or would we hide behind some of these excuses, biases? Are we more afraid of being cancelled by the world or being found unfaithful by the shepherd? And so if Jesus called my name right now, your name, would he find you at your post, on your guard, or asleep with the flock in the comfort of the fold? And so what would I say if the shepherd is going to ask me, where were you when my sheep needed a warning? Will your silence cost someone else's soul? When that the door of probation is going to close, will I be remembered as a lion who roared for the truth, or a dog who never barked? So friends, the time for self-diagnosis, it's almost over. The time to choose, it's almost over. The shepherd's call, it's almost over. Who do you really want to be? And if you're honest, who are you right now? I'm going to end up with a beautiful song here. If I can have Devin spool over to that piece of music. And before we go there, I'm going to have a short prayer with these questions. When Jesus whispers, watch and pray, what am I going to do? Am I going to hit my spiritual snooze button? Or am I going to spring to my feet? When truth demands an inconvenient warning, do I bark? Or do I clear my throat and change the subject? If the master is going to call me tonight, would he find me standing between his sheep and the wolf, or curled up in the straw, rationalizing my silence? Friends, eternity will remember which dog I was. Thank you. God bless.